Which do you actually prefer?
I like Druid a lot for the pressure. I think Druid in general, they see some games where it might lose against Warrior, but generally speaking, those are anomalies. Like Druid is so good at, like, as long as it follows its curve, it's so good at giving Warriors problems on every single turn. Like, every single turn there's a threat, starting from turn 3 with a Shade of Naxxramas, Yeti, Druid of the Claw, Spectral Knight, into Cairn, into Ancient of Lore. Like, as long as you curve out well, you can do anything.
Well, he agrees with you, it looks like. Going to go ahead and go right into Druid, and looking like he's thinking of mulliganing all 3 cards here.
Yeah, he wants a Wild Growth. He wants the Innervate. He values his curve. Yeti is a great card. Interesting, though, he has Sludge Belcher in Druid. We haven't seen that card much in Druid.
Yeah.
We see Spectral Knights, Druid the Claw, even an Azure Drake. Not necessarily a Sludge Belcher.
You know what was actually really interesting is in our last series, was it Sungjae that had the Echoing Oozes as well as Sludge Belcher, which I thought was a little bit strange as well. But
yeah.
You know, I guess he is a sticky minion, so it kind of works out. But yeah, I mean, Sludge Belcher is such a good card.
Sticky, all right. One time I high-fived him, and I couldn't wash that thing off for days.
Oh, my God. Same with Echoing Ooze, because he's slimy.
Yeah. No, I mean, both of those guys, you just I mean, they're great to have on your side, but I'm not very touchy-feely with them.
No.
Ooh, Herudra also runs Slam.
Yeah.
So there's some interesting retro cards being mixed into some tech here.
We've actually seen Slam a little bit now and then.
Right.
Recently.
And, you know, conveniently, it's great against Argent Commander.
That is very true. It is fantastic.
This is like we're winding back 8 months in the metagame.
Well, you know, it's not a bad card at all. It almost always cycles, so it's like, whatever.
So here's an interesting question that I usually like to throw out to my commenters. A lot of time, people usually like to play Armor Smith because it makes sense. But I've also seen people armor up and pass because, like, Armor Smith doesn't really do much. So what do you think? Because you have Sludge Belcher already in hand. Is there any merit to just, like, armoring up and start gaining life against your opponent?
I normally do play the Armor Smith because I look at it as one of these cards that doesn't have a lot of value. Sometimes you get these great combos a little bit later in the game where you gain a lot of armor off of her, sure. But overall, I look at her as like something that can proc for an Execute or something. It's like one of the weakest cards against Druid, in my opinion.
Sure. I think so, too. She's somewhat inconsequential until it gets to the stages where there's taunts out and you're gaining life and your opponent is looking for combos. Now, Yhone is up on an awkward turn here. If he silences and dedicates his turn to denying card draw, well, his opponent's going to have a board where he can answer with Deathspite and continue to start, basically be safe.
Yeah.
And then Chilling Yeti, though, gets immediately threatened to get killed with Execute, and he can't really do anything anyway. So that's a little bit unfortunate for Yhone.
You're very right. It's like the scariest thing is the Deathspite just popped out right now. You'd be like, oh, I just don't have any good plays anymore. This sucks. But denying the card draw is so important against Warrior. So I don't hate the play. I think I would have gone with the Yeti, but...
Well, fortunately for Yhone, he didn't because there was Execute waiting. That would have been bad news. Suiciding, trading, and then it would have been bad news. So in the end, Yhone picks up cards that he would love to have earlier on, right? Wild Growth on turn 2 would have been perfect. Because then you would have been played Chilling Yeti.
He'd be way ahead right now.
And then he would have used Keeper of the Grove onto the Acolyte a turn earlier. So would have been nasty.
Yeah. Well, now we're sitting here on turn 5. And
look how much Armor Smith's going to give, by the way, value in terms of the health.
That's right. It kind of worked out with this slow start from Druid. Kind of a defensive start as well, of course, as you pointed out with that silence.
This is the last turn that you can use Druid the Claw, too, with good conscience in taunt mode.
That's true.
Because Black Knight's going to be relevant the following turn.
Well, it looks like he's going to go ahead and Wild Growth here. And he doesn't have like a set plan for what Wild Growth is going to do for him in the next turn.
I don't know. That one's hard to swallow, you know. You're ramping, but your turn next, you're not ramping even to something with in mind. It's just like ramping because you need to get rid of that and protect your minion as best as you can.
To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if he has an extra mana laying around next turn and maybe even the turn after. And when that happens, you feel little bit bad about the ramp because that could have been a lot of bit bad. A risky play, but it it could pay off as well. Like he draws into Ancient Allure or something, wants to use that, then that can be fantastic.
Yeah, it's not a little bit bad like you spilled milk on the dinner table. It's more like you used crayons and drew all over the wall in the house bad.
Oh my God!
And I definitely did not do that. Oh, she did that?
She did do that.
Rip Artosis wall.
Yep.
By the way, this armor gain is also starting to stack up. Like this armor smith has already gotten 3 additional life.
Yeah.
And against combos the Druid has.
It's a big deal.
There's a finite amount of damage past all the minions that Druid can do.
Well, you know, sometimes the Armor Smith really works out like this. Other times, you know, the Yeti comes right out and just runs into her and she's dead. So this game definitely a good one for her.
Ugh.
Oh.
Well, you know, Artosis, you called it. 1 mana floating.
Yeah.
That Armor Smith.
That Wild Growth looks so bad right now.
That Armor Smith gained how much life? Like 10?
And look at the amount of cards he used on this. On a Sludge Belcher, an Armor Smith, and an Acolyte, he used, you know, he used the Keeper of the Grove, he used a Swipe, he used a Wrath, and
2 mana of hero power.
And all of those turns were way weaker than other turns he could have had.
Right.
So we see that, you know, a lot of people point to Druid as the easiest to play, but we see how different decisions can really turn the tides of the game and just change everything.
Who says that, Artosis?
I definitely say that.
All right, well, I said that too.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, are you trying to run away from this right now? I don't want to put you on the spot, but I definitely think Druid is the easiest deck to play.
Well, you know, and also to kind of put an example of how powerful Wild Growth is, imagine if he did every single turn, but he was attacking with a Yeti in the process.
Yeah.
For the past 3 or 4 turns. He'd be doing
crazy.
12 damage. That warrior would be down to the low 20s. He'd have pieces of the combo ready to go with more pressure lined up, and his opponent would basically not be able to deal with that Yeti easily without giving up his curve. So like he wouldn't be able to play Sylvanas and execute, for example, in previous 6. So overall, like this game has been completely changed because, once again, Druid has not been able to maintain that curve we alluded to.
Yeah. Well, here's another turn that's going to be painful, I think.
Well, I suppose you just attack face. Like, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
All right.
The Yeti as well. Okay. I mean, he has the Slam in hand, so this is not even going to be hard to deal with, unfortunately. At least he does use up his full mana that turn, so that's good.
Yeah, but this is where Slam becomes ridiculous.
Yeah.
In fact, actually, I like stealing the Argent Commander.
You like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really not bad at all.
Slam your own Sylvanas. That's one thing you can do.
Is there any merit to pulling a Brawl this turn? Attack face Brawl?
Well, actually, it's essentially the same thing, although your Sylvanas does have a chance to survive. I find it really hard to pass up stealing the Argent Commander, though, because Brawl is also another thing that your opponent doesn't have to play around if they load up the board.
Yeah, it's quite true.
Plus, you draw a card. You cycle.
Yeah.
You can get close to Alexstrasza and grow him up.
Oh, wow. He did it before attacking. Oh my God.
Okay. So
oh, my God.
Oh, and you know what? He takes Argent Commander. That's missed 5 damage right there.
That is a missed 5 damage.
Oh, man.
The amount of mistake that was is huge. That's huge. He could get him down to 15 this turn. That's like...
Wow. That's Gromosh killing soon, right?
Yeah, and he has a War Axe on. Like, huge mistake here from Herudra, but I guess it goes to show the pressure here. He's trying to climb back into the series. He's trying to get to the finals of IeSF.
Well, he's like, I'm actually in a bad matchup, but somehow stabilizing and winning. Better not mess this up. And then he does the move that messes him up.
Well,
well, I think Yhone is not happy, but at least he saw his opponent got disrupted, and he has taunts.
Yeah.
Which will get Black Knighted, but once he sees Black Knight, he can drop 2 more taunts.
That's
right.
Well, you just dropped Sludge Belcher, right?
Yeah, and then you tack off the Divine Shield.
You've been talking a lot about how Argent Commander is just so weak against Sludge Belcher, and he has the opportunity to punish that right now.
He's super weak against Sludge Belcher with a hero power that can do 1 damage.
Oh, yeah. He ain't nothing but a big game hunter then.
You're right. It's just a 4-2. Oh.
A little bit surprised by that. Like, I guess his life is, like, getting a little bit low, so he's nervous.
Yeah.
But he has so many taunts in hand that...
Yeah, but I mean, he's about to get bad news.
Yes, indeed.
From a very unfriendly customer. He wants his money back. And he didn't bring a receipt.
And this Sludge Belcher is not going to pass. I mean, this is...
No.
This is a pretty straightforward play.
Yeah.
You use the axe to clear the slime. You keep the Divine Shield.
Armor up.
Like, I think that this... What? Oh.
Well, he's going to keep Black Knight. I mean, that's a really intelligent read. If you see your opponent has Sludge Belcher, it's like, well, I might need Black Knight again later.
But you get a 4-5 on the board, and you have, like, a 4-5 and a 4-2 at full health.
Well, I mean, the Divine Shield is actually worth something.
Yeah,
here.
yeah. This is a way better play if you ask me. Like, the
yeah,
Black Knight.
I was behind you from the beginning.
He has to fly out of that. Yeah, he has to fly out, man. Like, that's just such a better play.
Yeah, and Yhone's not happy with that one because he realizes that his opponent's got perfect answers. And once again, Druid falling a little bit short against Warrior.
Warrior has been one of these MVP decks of this tournament.
Oh, wow. Well, now that you saw two of these guys, or saw Black Knight, you have two of these guys which can go taunt.
It's double taunt time. And look, if something lives through the next turn, if you still have a taunt, Rag becomes pretty cool.
You know your opponent has Big Game Hunter, though.
If he has Big Game Hunter, you're probably just going to end up losing. But there's no way that you can Rag, right? You can't Rag Hero Power into that shield.
No, you go down to 14 health. Your opponent, if you miss, has 8. And it's just easy for you to just get shut down completely. So
you have to double taunt.
I think double taunt. Force of Nature removals also doesn't do anything. So I think Drew the Claws are your best bets.
You know,
and because you didn't remove that Divine Shield earlier.
Yep, he could have cleared this board, but also let's not forget the failed 5 attack. So if that had happened, he would be so low right now.
Yeah, he'd be threatening lethal. Well, you know, no one said it'd be pretty.
No.
But Yhone's got to do this.
Whoa!
Ragnaros is a desperation move because his opponent can't remove it. He actually can defend Ragnaros with Druid's Claw next turn.
All right, I like this better.
Okay, I think so too.
You're giving yourself a chance here, but with that many cards in hand for the
Warrior. Look what if he did if he played Ragnaros.
Wow. The amount of Big Game Hunter top decks that we've seen at this tournament.
Well, you've got a full clear here with Herudra. You can use Divine Shield to kill one with the Slam, and then you can use Cruel Taskmaster to buff up another creature and trade into it. So things are looking really, really good. Wow. Even has Loatheb.
Not that it's needed at 33 health against what is soon to be an empty board, but definitely a strong card to have in your hand.
I don't like using Execute. You know your opponent has like Cenarius possibility. If he's also paying attention, he knows his opponent has Ragnaros too, but he does have Big Game Hunter. So you have to just be mindful of it. Although Cruel Taskmaster does give up your primary way of activating Grommash in case you need him.
I think you don't need him in this game, though. Just looking at this hand, it's so crazy.
Wow.
Oh. No, I thought for sure the Divine Shield is going to be worthwhile here as a play.
Oh.
Okay, he's doing it. I like this so much better.
Yeah, keep the health on the Black Knight high. Trading Divine Shield for the 4 health is great, and now it is Cenarius that we were talking about, and that will stall for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a pretty clear play there.
That's where I didn't really like using Execute as much.
I actually do like the Execute. I like clearing those out, putting the extra damage on. He's at such health, and his hand actually has a lot of versatility still.
Yeah, but he didn't need to. He could have used just a little bit of health from he could get rid of his Black Knight, essentially, and then put out a Loatheb instead. And you have a 5/5 pressuring. This turn you would have axed. Well, I guess you couldn't have removed it easily with no activator, so with Execute.
Oh, look in here.
This is a little awkward.
Yeah, like he has to sack all of his minions if he wants a full clear right now, but I don't think he even needs that. I think you just push for some extra damage here. You go to the face for 8. Yeah, this is I quite like this with the Lotheb. That's a strong turn.
Yeah, you're at 40 health with this armor up. Not really worried about anything.
No, certainly not.
All these guys going down to the rope very often. Really trying to take this extremely slowly. And it's important, too, because we're coming up on the last turns here of Game 4, and I think we're going to go to another Game 5.
Yeah, which is exactly, of course, what we want to see. We want to see some close series here today, and that's what we're getting.
Well, is there any way for him to survive? I don't think so. He needed 12 mana so that he can snipe and play Ragnaros with the Keeper of the Grove.
Keeper snipes the same amount, and you can arm, like, well, yeah, it doesn't matter. Anyways, it's just way too much damage.
Well, he had a chance if his opponent wasn't holding a weapon, but that weapon brings up so many problems.
So no taunts are left for him. I think he has like one more taunt in his whole deck anyways.
Well, I think you go out gloriously and slam down Ragnaros.
Yeah,
That's
I think
the only
you're
way
right
to
about
go.
that. It's
No, I completely disagree with this finishing move.
You're so right, Frodan.
Yeah. You go out in a blaze of glory. That's what it's called. Yhone claps and he concedes. We're going to game number 5.
All right.
To determine who's going to join our Tunisian player in the finals.
That's right. I'm sure he's sitting out there studying these games, studying these decks as much as he can. And all right, so he's now lost with that Druid deck, which means he's got to go into Warlock.